Okay, welcome back. Well, today I'm going to be looking at the first of 120 tips for the Osmo Pocket 3, and I'm going to be doing numbers 1 to 40. Some of them you may already be aware of, some of them you may not, but hopefully it'll help you get more out of the Pocket 3 and improve your footage. So let's crack on with the first one. Now, if you're some way away from your Pocket 3, you can use the Mic 2 as a remote control unit to start and stop a recording or to take a photograph. You simply press the link button, it'll start the recording, press it again, and it's going to stop the recording. Now, the DJI Mic 2 also has active noise cancellation. And to activate this, once you're recording, if you press the power button, then the indicator light will change from blue or green, whichever mode you're in, to yellow, showing that the active cancellation is on. Now, if you're filming in Pro mode, you also get the option to switch on noise cancellation, and that will automatically take out any wind noise that's in the background to help give you clearer audio.
This is with the wind noise reduction off. This is with the wind noise reduction off. This is with the wind noise reduction on. This is with the wind noise reduction on.
In order to save power, if you're using the DJI Mic 2, it does have an auto turn off feature, and this comes into effect after 15 minutes of the unit being inactive. Now, when you're in the menu settings, you've got three options to return back to the main screen. You can either press the arrow on the top left, you can press the joystick twice, and that'll take you back, or the third option is to press the record button, and that'll take you straight back to your screen. Now, once you start recording as well, if you find that your footage is overexposed, you can simply swipe from the right of the screen, and there you can adjust the exposure levels up or down depending on what you need. Now, you can film 4K vertical, but to do this, you need to start off in horizontal and then rotate the camera slowly 90 degrees. And that'll mean it's going to carry on recording in 4K. But remember, if you are posting to sites such as Instagram, it's going to drop it from 4K down to 1080p anyway. Now, if you want to be a bit more incognito when you're filming, you are able to switch off the lights that are on the DJI Mic 2. Simply swipe down from the settings, select the DJI Mic 2, and there you can see the options to turn them off. The Pocket 3 also supports fast charging. So if you've got a charger which gives up more than 30 watts, you can charge it from 0 to 80% in 16 minutes, and then 80% to 100% in a further 60 minutes, or 32 minutes to charge it totally. Now, if you're using slow motion, remember the camera doesn't record any audio. Now, you may find that as you walk, your footage is bobbing up and down, even though it's a stabilized gimbal. So to mitigate this, you'd need to do what is known as the ninja walk. And with this, you bend your knees and take very small steps whilst holding the camera with both hands, and that will greatly improve the stability of your footage. In slow motion, you can also now use the color profiles of the D-Log-M or the HLG for your footage, up to 100 or 120 frames per second, but you can't use it in low light or 240 FPS. If you're using an external mic with the Pocket 3, you've also got the option to do a backup of the internal microphones. So this will create two separate files, one from your external mic and one from the internal microphones of the actual camera. So if you're filming in Pro mode and you're using the color profile of D-Log-M, then you can download the conversion LUT to change it from D-Log-M into Rec 709. And you can get this directly from the DJI website. To save time using the Pocket 3, you've also got an option called Rotate and Capture. So if you scroll down from the top, the second icon across from the left is a circle within a circle. And if you select that, when the camera is off, the camera will then power on and then start recording in the last mode that it was in. Now, when you film yourself on the selfie mode of the Pocket 3, the image you can see on your screen is a mirror image of what's actually being filmed. So when you play it back, everything is the right way around. So when you put selfie flip on, the recording is a mirror image. So any words you got on signs or shop windows, things like this, will be reversed as they are in the screen when you're actually doing the recording. So if you want things to appear natural, leave this off. Now, above the joystick, you've got a little red indicator light, and that will tell you what the camera is doing. If it's green, then the camera is ready for action. If it goes temporarily off, the camera is taking a photo. If it's blinking red slowly, it's taking a video. And if it gives you 3 rapid red flashes, then it's powering off. In order to keep the Pocket 3 steady when you're filming, you can attach a tripod to the screw at the bottom of the camera. This will ensure that the camera is fixed and it doesn't move when you take in your shots. If you are using magnetic ND filters such as the freewell ones, you can stack these onto the camera. So this will give you more versatility when you're trying to set the frame rate for the 180 rule. If you're using the DJI Mimo app and you want to lock the exposure, then you need to press and hold the screen until a little yellow box appears, and then keep holding it, and then a little padlock will appear to indicate that the screen is actually locked and the exposure is not going to change.
So this is the part where everybody says, this is sponsored by blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm not sponsored. So if you could do the like, subscribe and the belly thing, that would be greatly appreciated.
If you do have a lens protector over the Pocket 3, then you can still attach magnetic mounts such as the wide angle lens or ND filters. If you want to clean the lens of the Pocket 3, you need to make sure that the camera is switched off. Otherwise, you run the risk of the gimbal motors being overloaded. To view what footage you've actually got on your camera, you can view the media library. So for this, you swipe in from left to right, and that's going to show you the last bit of footage that you filmed. And in the top left-hand corner, you can see 4 boxes. If you press this, that's going to bring you up thumbnails of your footage that's stored on your SD card. And from here, you can either heart the footage to save it later, or you can actually delete any files that you no longer require. Now, if you do a bit of filming in different locations, you can also set up a folder and naming system within the Pocket 3. So say, for example, you're on holidays, you could set it to HOL for the folder name. And then if you went on a boat trip during that day, you could set the file name then to something like BOT. So that just makes it a little easier to organize your files. Now, unlike other action cams, the Pocket 3 isn't waterproof, so I wouldn't recommend taking it out in the rain or in any environment where it's likely to get wet. All this is going to do is just break your camera. Once you finish recording, do not remove the SD card immediately. It may be a few more seconds before the camera has finished writing the information to the card. Can you use the DJI Mic 1 with the Pocket 3? And the answer to that is yes. But you have to use the receiver plugged directly into the Pocket 3. Unlike the Mic 2, the Mic 1 is not wireless. Now, can you use the DJI Mic 1 and the DJI Mic 2 together on the Pocket 3 simultaneously? And the answer to that is no. It has to be either the Mic 1 with the transceiver or the wireless Mic 2. But you can connect 2 Mic 2s to the Pocket 3 at the same time if you want. You've also got the option to change the menu language from English to whichever language you speak. Now, will the DJI Mic 1 fit into the charging case of the DJI Mic 2? And the answer to that is no. Not only are the pins in a different location, but also the thickness of the 2 units is different. Now, another option you've got is to have the camera shut down if you move the screen from the horizontal to the vertical position. And you can do this to happen immediately, have a delay of 2 seconds, whereby you can press the screen to keep the power on, or never. So if you're looking to save some battery power, you can have the screen of the Pocket 3 switch off after a predetermined amount of time. Anything from 3 seconds up to 10 minutes. So next is the gimbal startup direction. Now, if you're someone who's doing a lot of vlogging, you can set this up so that as soon as you power the camera on, the gimbal will face directly to you. Or if you film in the wider environment, you can have the gimbal facing away from you. So you haven't got to keep changing from one to the other during startup. Now, you can use magnetic ND filters with the Pocket 3, such as those with Freewell. And this will allow you to use the 180 rule, which will give your footage more motion and make it more cinematic. And the way that this works is you set your exposure to twice of that of the frame rate. So if your frame rate is 30 frames per second, then your exposure should be 1/60th of a second. And use the ND filters to bring down the exposure to what you need, for example, 1/60th. So if you want to compose your footage like using the rule of thirds, then you can have grid lines on the screen. And you've got the option of grid, which is just going to give you the 2 horizontal or vertical lines on a third of the screen, or you've got the option of using the parallel lines if you're using the aspect ratio of 2:35. Now, these lines only appear on the screen of the Osmo, they don't actually transfer onto the footage. If you do tend to use a smaller SD card and you want smaller files, then you can choose to have HEVC as your video format, or you can have H.264, which is an older codec, but it's more widely used. Another way to save a bit of time on the camera is to use the record button as a delete button. So this means if you're filming and then something happens that makes the footage unusable, if you press and hold the record button whilst you're filming, it'll automatically delete that file from the camera. If you take photos with the Pocket 3, you've got an option to do it in 1:1 or a 16:9. And for me, I tend to use the 1:1, so then I can always crop the image down later in post. You've also got the option to use a self-timer. Now simply swipe up from the bottom of the screen, and there you can see the options to switch the timer off, have it 3, 5 or 7 seconds. Then once you press record, you've got that amount of time before the camera takes a photo. So when your SD card is full and you want to delete the files, you can just come down to the format menu, swipe across, and that will reformat the SD card. So if you need to reset the camera for any reason, you can come down to the very bottom of the menu and there's an option there that says factory reset. You select that, it'll ask you if you want to confirm it, click on yes, and then the camera will reset all the parameters back to as if it was straight out of the box.
Okay, that's the first 40 done. I'm in the process of doing the next 40. If you did find it useful, do the like and subscribe and the thumbs up thing. And I'll catch you again next time. And sorry about my throat, I've had a touch of COVID. Thanks very much. Bye.